So Studio Wit needed something to do while they waited for the possibility to make Attack on Titan Season 2 one day. So they decided, well, let's make an Attack on Titan clone with trains. Alright, so what is up YouTube? It's RSMario here bringing you another anime review. This time for Kanabari and the Iron Fortress. Alright, so this one is an interesting one. I think this is probably the hardest review I've done so far. Alright, so Kanabari and the Iron Fortress follows the tale of IKOMAS. He is a steamsmith. Basically, he works on steam trains. And he is basically, follows the story of him dealing with the predicament he's now in. He's basically a Kanabari. You know, after trying to invent a gun to kill them, he gets bitten by one and becomes a Kanabari. Now, Kabane are these creatures, these zombie-like creatures with steel cage hearts that you have to get up and close and personal to kill. And basically, they're plaguing this world now. And, you know, your basic zombie apocalypse. And him and a bunch of other characters on a train have to get from point A to point B in order to, you know, try to survive. And that's pretty much the story going on here. And it's pretty much all we really get. And I have to say, it's not horrible, but it's not exactly good either. But it does make for a pretty good watch. The animation in this show is actually pretty awesome, and one of the reasons why I didn't make it a pro is because that's what I expect from Studio Wit. So from studios known for awesome animation, I would not make it a pro that your animation is good, because I expect your animation to be good. The music in this show is pretty good, but of course you're working with Hiroyuki Sawano, so as expected, the music was good. The storyline and the setting is something that is interesting. Now, the setting I freaking love. Steampunk, feudal Japan, hell yes. I'm into that. Even though steampunk and feudal Japan are something that's been used a lot, I don't think I've seen them used together very often. Something I wish they would have done in this show is done a little bit of world building and tell us what else is going on in the world. I mean, because if you look at the intro, I'm guessing they're showing, you know, where this takes place, and it's pretty much Japan. You know, so I'm thinking, well, then if this is Japan, like actual feudal Japan, then that must mean that Russia and China, and this takes place in a normal world. So what's going on in those places? Like, I mean, are they fighting a Kabane too? You know, where did the Kabane come from? You know, did one of these countries make them? Is this like a biologic weapon gone wrong? You know, what's going on here? And they don't explain those things, which kind of sucks, but setting is still awesome though. Storyline, not so much. You can basically see where they were going with this. They were trying to make an Attack on Titan clone, you know, but they kind of failed at some parts that I'm going to get into a little bit later. But let's get into the big part. Pros and cons. Standing by. So, one pro of the show is definitely the fact that it is an Attack on Titan clone. I mean, as much as you know, you can say, yeah, it's an Attack on Titan clone. Yeah. It's a clone of one of the best anime to come out in years. I mean, yeah, it's not like god tier story wise, but just look at what it's done in 4 years. The hype was real some years ago, and what they did was they cloned Attack on Titan. I mean, they got the action scenes, they got the animation, the character with the superpowers, the other character with the superpowers, you know, the chick who is slightly better than he is. They got all this stuff from Attack on Titan, and they did it pretty well. Even the Kabane, who are arguably better enemies than the Titans. But yeah, you know, they actually did pretty good on that part. Alright, so next pro is the fight scenes. So the fight scenes are awesome, and it's what I would expect from Studio Wit. Only have wished there were more of them near the end. That's one of the down parts about the show, but the fight scenes are awesome, and they're a lot more up close and personal than some of the Attack on Titan scenes. Since, Attack on Titan, it is kind of up close, but slice him across the neck, that's it. No, you have to run up face to face with the Kabane and stab him in the chest to kill him. And it's not just your typical zombie fare, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the head.
まずいぞ、キャプテン。応急処置した給水タンクが破れてる。
And probably one last pro of the show is a really interesting facet I got from the show, and that's Suzuki-san. And Suzuki-san's voice actor, I'm not sure if he's American or not. He could just be British or somebody else who speaks English, but he definitely speaks perfect English and fluid Japanese, which makes for a really interesting combination because I'm guessing there's some words in Japanese that aren't in English and vice versa. So that means he will do whole sentences in Japanese with one random English word, and it just throws you off, especially when you're watching it in sub and everything's in Japanese. It was just like one little bright, funny moment in kind of a dark, gloomy show. And I was hoping he didn't die. I was like, of all the characters, don't kill him. I said, please don't kill him because he's funny. He's awesome. And because I know, this is coming from the Attack on Titan guys. I know they have a penchant for killing people, specifically side characters. So, yeah, they didn't kill him. I was happy with that.
So.
And like everything in life, there is positives and there is negatives. And the negatives for this show, yeah, they're kind of big. Well, the first con basically of this is it's Attack on Titan clone. Yeah, I know I said being an Attack on Titan clone wasn't a bad thing, but it can be if you don't do it correctly. So when I think of somebody cloning something in the entertainment genre, you take the good points from that thing and you take your own points, you add it together, and you make something interesting. Yes, it is a clone, but it's a clone with your own spin on it. This has been done in entertainment since time immemorial. But this time, I don't think it was done quite as well. I mean, they took some of the good points from Attack on Titan, the animation, the fight scene, stuff like that, but they didn't take all of them. Because one part of Attack on Titan that a lot of people like were the lovable side characters, like Potato Girl, and other side characters that you just like. There's not a lot of lovable side characters here. I mean, there's Suzuki-san, there's IKOMAS friend, who I forgot his name because stuff happens to him. I mean, Kurusu is a pretty interesting character in the end. He's a dick in the beginning, but in the end, he's a pretty interesting character. But yeah, there's not a lot of side characters or character development in this show, which takes me to my next con. Character development. Like, there's not nearly enough character development in this show, and I kind of blame that on, the way they structured the show. Because in the first half of the show, it was like balls to the wall action, and they just keep ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And you expect this to kind of go on through the show, which I wouldn't mind because, you're an action show. I would expect that. But then they kind of cut focus and slow down and probably bring in this dramatic story, which really kind of puts a damper on everything. And so I'm like, well, maybe we'll get some character development here. And we get some, but not nearly enough, because there's only like maybe 5 episodes left in the show at this point when you want to start character development. Outside of Mome. So she gets more character development than freaking Ikoma, and he's the main character. And speaking of Mome's backstory, the next con is the villain. So the villain, Biba. Biba is the villain of this show, and I have to say, oh man, now I'm a huge fan of two-dimensional villains. Like, some of my favorite villains are just straight up two-dimensional villains, like Frieza. Frieza is one of my favorite villains because he's just a dick. He doesn't have like some intricate backstory about his parents dying, or his mother didn't love him enough, or his daddy, you know, beat him up, or he was molested by, you know, Catholic Muslims or something. I don't know. He doesn't have a weird backstory or some kind of backstory that explains why he's a dick. He's just a dick. For all we know, he was probably born a dick. And it looks like they tried to kind of combine that with this enemy, with this villain, with Biba. So they tried to get like a two-dimensional villain and give him a three-dimensional story, and it doesn't exactly work out that well, especially when you only have like 5 freaking episodes to do it. So Biba, his philosophy or his reasoning for doing this isn't explained per se. I guess it's explained, but it's not explained right. It should be explained better. That's a better way of saying it. It should be explained better. Basically, you know, he's trying to make the world a better place, but how he's doing that isn't explained very well. There's also a socio-political story in there, but thank God that's not really the focus. It's actually on his kind of philosophy is the focus of what he's doing. So, yeah. It's not really that appealing though. And probably the worst con of the show would be the pacing. At least for the second half. Now, this show, I was getting flashbacks of like Sword Art Online with this show, because the first half was pretty good. I mean, even though technically it's not gonna make, you know, the first half wouldn't have made for like the magnum opus of anime, you know, being an amazing story, but at least you got incredible action scenes, and that works. I mean, I will take an anime that's built around action. I mean, Dragon Ball Z, for instance. But they stopped that in the middle of the show and went into a dramatic story. So now you're story building after you've done all this stuff near the end of the show. Now they should have switched this around and started story building and then ramped up to a big huge ending fight. That would have worked. That's what Attack on Titan did. But they didn't do that here. There was all this fight. Arguably one of the biggest fights in the series takes place in the middle when, you know, Mome is fighting the black smoke monster. You know, and that's really it. You know, I mean, the ending fight is a fight, but it's nowhere near as epic as you would think. You know, think of the ending fight from Attack on Titan. You know, you've got the Femme Titan versus you know, Eren. Freaking amazing, right? Nowhere near that. That's a good way to end an action show. This is not. I'll give it to him though. The ending wasn't bad. The ending was fine. It was acceptable. It wasn't one of those convenient Charlotte type of endings, and it wasn't some weird ambiguous ending. It was an ending that wrapped everything up, but left it open for a possible season 2. Which, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind, kind of. But yeah, this show is definitely interesting, and it shows you that hype can make or break an anime. Because when hype picks up for an anime or any type of thing, in any type of genre, you could go in thinking, you know, how with your expectations up here, and your expectations really should be about right here, you know. But hey, I mean, it's an anime. It's a pretty interesting watch. I'll give it a C. If the ending sucked, this would have easily been a D. I'd have been like, you know, this is my first ever D show. But the ending was pretty good. It wrapped up everything nicely. So I'll give you a C. So that's about it. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, people, keep it real.